She walked into the courtroom looking mentally distressed, her hands clasped tightly as if in prayer, with visible wounds around her throat that had not yet healed. It was as if she were putting on a performance to mislead people and gain their sympathy. People who knew her described her as wonderful, kind, cheerful, hardworking, intelligent, a healer, and a massage therapist. Their family and friends had been her clients for years. She had many clients, and her services were highly sought after. What you are about to see is the moment Janette MacAusland realizes that her distorted belief about taking her children's lives to protect them, or taking them with her when she tried to end her own life, could put her behind bars for the rest of her life. It is also the moment she realizes the wrongfulness of her actions, but by then, everything is already too late. This is a recent case, but every detail you are about to see has been verified through law enforcement, witness statements, and the official arraignment hearing. This is one of the newest disturbing and controversial cases in America, involving the psychological pressure of divorce and a custody dispute, combined with a deeply unstable mental state, leading a mother to develop a distorted belief about taking her children's lives to protect them, or taking them with her when she tried to end her own life. If you have never heard this story before, prepare yourself, because what happened on Edgemoor Avenue in Wellesley, Massachusetts, on the night of April 24 into the early morning of April 25, 2026, will challenge everything you think you know about a broken family and a custody battle. Now, if this is your first time here, I'm really glad you found this channel. Every day, I dive deep into real criminal cases, breaking them down piece by piece so we can actually understand what happened and why. If that sounds like something you'd be into, go ahead and hit subscribe. It's free, and it means a lot. Okay, now let's get back to the case. In Wellesley, Massachusetts, Janette MacAusland was known as a mother of 2 young children and as an acupuncturist. She was 49 years old. Her son, Kai MacAusland, was 7 and in 2nd grade. Her daughter, Ella MacAusland, was 6 and in kindergarten. Both children attended Schofield Elementary School. Their father was Samuel MacAusland, Janette's estranged husband. From the outside, the family lived in a quiet suburban community west of Boston. But by the spring of 2026, the family was in the middle of a painful divorce and custody dispute. Samuel MacAusland had filed for divorce in October 2025 after 9 years of marriage. He requested custody of Kai and Ella, along with rights to the family home. Janette later filed her own counterclaim, also asking for custody and for the home. The court record showed that the disagreement had moved beyond ordinary divorce filings. Both parents were asking the court to decide where the children would live and how their future would be managed. On the 16th of April 2026, the 2 sides agreed to bring in a neutral third party to examine the custody and parenting issues. 5 days later, on April 21, a guardian ad litem was appointed to evaluate what arrangement would best serve Kai and Ella. That decision came only days before the events that would bring the family into the criminal justice system. Public records do not reveal every conversation that took place inside the home during that period. They do not show what Janette was thinking, what the children knew, or how the custody dispute was affecting daily life behind closed doors. Court records later identified the 22nd of April, 2026, as the date of the alleged offenses. That date matters because the children were not discovered until 2 days later. The public record has not yet provided a complete account of what happened inside the family home on Edgemoor Avenue during that period. There is no released video showing the final hours. There is no public timeline explaining when the children were last seen alive. There is no full autopsy report available to the public. The only confirmed fact is that prosecutors allege that Kai and Ella died inside their home and that their mother is charged in connection with their deaths. According to a police affidavit later described in court reporting, Janette would eventually tell Vermont police that she had caused the deaths of both children by strangulation. That statement remains an allegation contained in the investigative record. It has not been tested before a jury, and Janette has entered a plea of not guilty to the charges. The exact sequence inside the Wellesley home has not been publicly released. What happened before, during, and after the children's deaths remains part of an ongoing homicide investigation. By the evening of Friday, April 24, Janette MacAusland was no longer in Massachusetts. She had traveled roughly 140 miles west to Bennington, Vermont. The public record does not establish when she left Wellesley, what route she took, or what she did in the time between April 22 and her arrival in Vermont. But shortly before 9 p.m., she arrived at the home of her aunt, Sandra Madison, on Northside Drive in Bennington. Sandra Madison later told police that someone was knocking or banging on a window. When she first looked outside, she did not immediately recognize her niece. Janette was upset, visibly injured, and bleeding from a wound to her neck. Madison brought her inside. The aunt later told officers that Janette appeared hysterical. After helping her settle down, Madison noticed that some of the blood had dried. Janette said she had tried to end her own life. Then the conversation turned to the rest of the family. Madison asked where Janette's husband was. According to the police report, Janette answered that he was at the lake. Then her aunt asked the question that changed the entire case: where were Kai and Ella? According to the affidavit, Janette told her aunt that she had killed them. She also said that she had driven to the Keechee Gorge Bridge and tried to jump, but could not do it. The account described her then driving to her aunt's home in Bennington. Madison also told police that Janette said she wanted all three of them to go to God together, but that it didn't work. These were statements reported by the aunt and recorded in police documents. They were not courtroom findings, and they remain subject to the legal process ahead. Faced with Janette's condition and what she had allegedly said, Madison called Bennington police and asked for help. At approximately 9:15 p.m. on April 24, officers were dispatched to the home for a welfare check involving a woman described as highly distressed. When officers arrived, they identified the woman as Janette MacAusland of Wellesley, Massachusetts. Her visible neck injury and her emotional state immediately raised concern. Officers began speaking with Janette. During that contact, their concern shifted from her condition to the safety of her children. According to the affidavit, Janette handed an officer a family vacation photograph showing herself with Kai and Ella. The officer asked where the children were. Janette allegedly said they were in her bed at the house in Wellesley. The affidavit further alleged that Janette then told an officer, "I strangled them and then I tried to kill myself." The statement was significant because it gave police a location, an alleged method, and an immediate reason to contact authorities across state lines. Bennington police did not wait for a long investigation in Vermont. They contacted the Wellesley Police Department and asked officers to perform an urgent welfare check at the MacAusland home on Edgemoor Avenue. At about 9:30 p.m., Wellesley police received the request from Vermont. Officers went to the house. Inside, they found Kai and Ella dead. Authorities later said the children were located in a bed, consistent with the location Janette had allegedly described to police in Vermont. Around 9:50 p.m., Wellesley officers informed Bennington police that both children had been found dead inside the Massachusetts home. The discovery transformed the welfare check into a double homicide investigation. Wellesley police secured the home on Edgemoor Avenue. Massachusetts State Police assigned to the Norfolk County District Attorney's Office joined the investigation. The home was treated as a crime scene, while investigators in Massachusetts coordinated with officers in Vermont, where Janette was being held. Authorities have not publicly released the full forensic record from the house. They have not disclosed a detailed timeline of the children's deaths, the complete findings of the medical examiner, or a full inventory of evidence taken from the scene. That information may later emerge through court filings, hearings, or a trial. For now, the publicly available evidence centers on the welfare check, the children's discovery, and the statements Janette was alleged to have made in Vermont. Janette became the central suspect almost immediately. This was not a case in which police had to track a missing vehicle across several states or identify a suspect through surveillance footage. Janette was already in contact with officers at her aunt's house when Wellesley police confirmed that Kai and Ella were dead. Her alleged statements to her aunt and to the responding officer formed the basis for the urgent communication between Vermont and Massachusetts. After Massachusetts authorities obtained a criminal complaint warrant, Janette was taken into custody in Vermont as a fugitive from justice. She was held without bail at the Marble Valley Correctional Facility in Rutland while Massachusetts prepared to bring her back to face the charges. The arrest did not follow a chase. It followed a family member's request for help, a police welfare check, and a series of alleged statements that led officers directly back to the home on Edgemoor Avenue. On April 27, Janette appeared by video in Vermont court. She waived her right to fight extradition and agreed to return to Massachusetts. Her attorney stated that she wanted to go back to Massachusetts as soon as possible to address the charges. The hearing was brief, but it marked the transition from the Vermont detention process to the Massachusetts criminal case. On the 6th of May, 2026, Janette MacAusland appeared in Dedham District Court in Massachusetts. She was arraigned on 2 counts of first-degree murder in connection with the deaths of Kai and Ella. A not guilty plea was entered on her behalf. The judge ordered her held without bail and approved placement at the Western Massachusetts Regional Women's Correctional Center in Chicopee, a facility requested by her defense attorney because of its available resources. As of now, Janette MacAusland remains charged, not convicted. She is presumed innocent under the law unless and until prosecutors prove the allegations in court. The next publicly scheduled step in the case is a probable cause hearing set for the 13th of July, 2026. That hearing may provide more information about the prosecution's evidence, the defense position, and the direction of a case that began with a custody dispute, crossed state lines, and ended with 2 young children found dead in their own home. The largest message from this case is that a custody dispute is never just paperwork when children are caught between 2 adults in crisis. In the MacAusland case, the public record shows a family already under pressure, a divorce moving through court, and a guardian ad litem appointed only days before Kai and Ella were found. Janette MacAusland is still accused, not convicted, but the allegations show how quickly a private family breakdown can become a tragedy no court order can repair. The lesson is that warning signs inside a family should never be minimized because the home looks stable from the outside. When a parent is isolated, overwhelmed, or speaking in ways that suggest despair, the response must be immediate and practical. Relatives, schools, attorneys, counselors, and courts all have a role when children may be at risk. This case also reminds people that child safety must stay at the center of every custody conflict. Legal rights matter, but the children's well-being must matter more. By the time police are called from another state, the chance to prevent harm may already be gone. Early action can be the difference between intervention and irreversible loss.